at that. Look at that guy. What a strange-looking man with the. Is that better? That's better. Welcome to another edition of Hypnosis Helps. Thank you for joining us. And we're very excited on this show. Myself, Neil Myers, local hypnosis practitioner, and my colleague, Bill Miller. We're joined today by Diane, and Diane is a volunteer.
Right.
And this one is all about experimentation using hypnosis. No, not really. It's not really about that. It's actually, this is all about busting the myths of hypnosis.
Right.
And there are lots of myths of hypnosis, aren't there, Bill?
Yep, sure are. You know, it's like, do you want to go through those?
Sure. So there are 5 big myths of hypnosis, and we've talked about the myths of hypnosis before.
Yeah.
We've discussed them on the set. But this time what we thought we would do is demonstrate just what ridiculous nonsense they really are.
Because they really are.
They really are.
Really are. And starting with the fact that you lose control.
Yes. What, you mean me or the person?
And hopefully not you.
Hopefully
yes.
not me. No.
Yes.
No, what happens, one of the most common myths is that I control somebody.
Right.
And we always make and this really is a myth that's been put about for a long period of time. And the myth comes about really, I think, largely from stage hypnosis.
Right.
And a lot of people who do what we do knock stage hypnosis, and I don't knock stage hypnosis, only because a lot of the useful techniques that we've learned and developed have come from the world of stage hypnosis.
Right.
But one of the things that it's in the interest of a stage hypnosis show to do is to give the impression that one is controlling the people who volunteer.
Right.
It looks like fun.
Right.
Now the fact of the matter is that we don't control anybody.
Well, that's right. And we were just talking earlier about this. Is those people aren't plants in the audience, but they're carefully selected.
Yes.
By the hypnotist just looking out at the audience.
And we're going to talk about some of the methods of doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but basically they're looking for people who will go into hypnosis quickly and who are eager to come up and maybe do silly things.
Right, and participate in a show.
Right.
And so we talked to before about people known as somnambulists, which we'll mention a little bit.
Yep.
And but the fact of the matter is that I always say if I could control people, if we could control people, why would we need to work for a living?
Right.
We just control people to give us our money or to give us their money.
Yes.
And anything that we wanted. So there's no real control.
That's
what
right.
we do is we create conditions whereby you can voluntarily enter a particular state, which
Right.
is a natural state. And
Right.
again, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Right. And one of the biggest things is really all the things that we do is to actually give you back control.
Yeah.
You know, of yourself, your life, and different things like that.
So when
the
people,
end.
come to us with an issue or a problem, something that they don't like that's happening in their
Right.
life, or a behaviour that they don't want, then in a sense, what I like to say is that behaviour controls them.
Right. Right.
So-
Smoking
right.
is a good one. Right.
Smoking, or a
Right.
fear or a phobia,
Right.
or excessive nervousness, anxiety.
Right.
So what we really do is we're looking to give you back control,
Right.
not take control from you.
Right.
So and we're going to demonstrate that. I don't want to spend too much time on the
No.
myths because we're going to
Demonstrate them. Yeah.
But just very quickly, the 5 big myths are that you fall asleep in hypnosis,
Yep.
and it can look like sleep. The Greek word hypnosis is the origin. The origin of the word hypnosis is the Greek word sleep.
Right.
But hypnosis isn't sleep, and we're going to test that out.
Right.
The next thing is that you can get stuck in hypnosis, and you'll
Right.
quickly see you can't get stuck in hypnosis.
Right. Right.
And the last 2 is that hypnosis is some sort of a truth serum that I, do things to you and you'll tell me anything I want to. And the fact of the matter is you won't tell me anything that you don't want to tell me.
Don't want to tell you when we're talking in a normal conversation.
Right.
If you wouldn't tell me it now, then you won't tell me in hypnosis.
Okay.
So that's really how that
Right.
works. And then one of the last ones is you're a person that can't be hypnotized. And the fact is everybody can be hypnotized, but not in who's willing, who wants to, but not using the same methods or whatever. So we adjust our methods depending on the person.
So let's just talk a little bit about that one, because the fact of the matter is that all of us are moving in and out of hypnotic states
Right.
all the time. That's the truth. We enter hypnosis, we exit hypnosis, but we don't call it hypnosis because we don't know what it is.
Right.
And our definition of hypnosis Is a very specific one, which is the bypass of the critical faculty of the conscious mind and the admission of acceptable selective thinking. So we're all moving in and out of states of hypnosis constantly, but we don't call them that.
Right.
One of the most common ones I say is when we go and watch a movie.
Right.
We're in a state of light at a movie theatre. We're in a state of light hypnosis because we're accepting. We know that they're actors. We know that nothing that we're seeing is truly real.
Right.
In fact, even the images aren't really moving. They're just a series of still images moving across lights.
Right.
But we sell ourselves into the idea that something is there, and so we feel the emotion. We feel excited. We feel sad. We feel what the characters are supposed to be feeling or what the film wants us to feel.
Right.
And that's a form of hypnosis. We bypass the critical faculty because the critical faculty simply says, none of this is real. It's a script, it's special effects, they're actors,
Right.
they're lines, the whole thing is set up. And so even in that sense, we enter the world of hypnosis, but we don't think of that as hypnosis.
And one of the things about it is it's always a willing state. So you have to, and you'll notice Neil will ask you a few times, are you ready to do hypnosis with me? So you agree to it. Well, what you do when you go to a movie is you implicitly agree to suspend, disbelief in it and go into a hypnotic state because you want to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So even in that case, you're giving your consent. You just don't even realize it.
But what what we're talking about here is a formal hypnosis.
Right.
Hetero hypnosis, which basically means I am the hypnotic operator and you're the hypnotic subject, as opposed to self-hypnosis, in which it's just yourself.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about. And also, since you've volunteered to be part of the show and you want to participate, then we would call this, in a sense, formal hypnosis. Everybody knows what's going on.
Right.
Whereas in a film, as an example, it's a form of hypnosis, but it's what I call implicit accidental hypnosis.
Right.
We don't really think of it in that way.
And it's light. It's a lighter form.
And it's a lighter form.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here, we're talking about something specific occurring in hypnosis and entering particular states.
Right.
So, did you have any particular questions about any of those things? We've talked about them before, haven't we? You and I.
Yeah, and it's clear.
And it's clear.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Now, normally, what we would do is we would do something called a pre-talk, and we'd explain the myths of hypnosis, and we'd explain other things, and we'd talk about what it is that you wanted to achieve while you're here to see us. And that's an important part of our process. So if you're thinking of seeing a hypnosis practitioner, that's an important part of the process. I'm talking to members of the audience out there. If you're thinking of seeing a hypnosis practitioner,
Right.
for a pre-talk. And the objective of the pre-talk it has several objectives, but there are two main ones. The first is to build positive expectation. And that's what we've been doing here. But the second, and perhaps the most important one, is to eliminate fear.
Right.
We know that there's really only one thing that blocks hypnosis, and that's fear.
Right.
And the fears can take different forms. Fear of the practitioner. Hopefully I'm not that scary. It's don't shaking her head.
Yeah, right.
A fear of the process, but that comes about because of a misunderstanding.
Right.
And of course, naturally, if people truly thought, most people think that they're going to be utterly controlled, that in itself is fearful.
It's very fearful, yeah.
The fact of the
Some
matter is you can, you're not being controlled.
Right.
That you can end the process at any time.
Right.
Now, you don't want to end the process because you have a specific goal.
Right.
So, for example, if we were using hypnosis for the possibility, and we talked about this on other shows, for the use of surgery and hypnoanesthesia, then you probably wouldn't want to sort of just get up and walk away.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You'd want to, remain there as long as the hypnotic anesthesia is being effective.
Right.
That's what we test for.
Right. Exactly.
So it's not that one is controlled, but the sense of that one might be controlled is what creates fear.
Right, and just to be clear, so when we say that really the only thing that'll block it is hypnosis is fear, that's assuming a willing subject. Because the other thing that'll block it is someone who says, no, I don't want to.
Right.
But if you set that aside and they're willing, then the only other thing really is fear.
Yes, and that's also a really good point, Bill, because people can quite simply say, I don't want to do it.
Even when they're in hypnosis at the time, they can say, well, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And because you don't go away, your conscious mind is always there. it's always seeing what's going on, and you can just say, I don't want this anymore.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're going to demonstrate this.
Yeah.
Diane is here to help us with this demonstration, but
Yep.
we only have one objective today, which is just we want to, apart from doing the demonstration, we just want to give you a sort of a relaxing time.
Right.
So that means that I am going to be using suggestions for relaxation.
Right.
But I want to emphasise to everybody out there that hypnosis is not relaxation. Many people define hypnosis as a state of relaxation. If one is in a deeper state of hypnosis, one is more deeply relaxed. And I say again, relaxation is not hypnosis. One can be very relaxed and not in hypnosis. One can be completely deep in hypnosis and not at all relaxed.
Right.
They are not the same thing. There are other hypnosis practitioners and some quite famous ones that have attempted to define hypnosis in reference to relaxation. And we certainly use the term relaxation when we bring people into hypnosis, but we know it's not the case.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So also during when you're in hypnosis, we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking to you, and you're going to be able to respond.
Right.
Because you're not asleep. And if you fall asleep, Bill will prod you and wake you up.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. 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 And the funny thing about hypnosis too is that, you know, a lot of times one of the major things that happens is a client will be in hypnosis and we bring them out and they don't even feel like they've been there.
Right.
Because they have all these expectations of what it's going to feel like. I'll be controlled, I'll be like I'm almost asleep, I'll be in a different state of mind and all this. And the experience itself is kind of so ordinary that they actually don't even believe they've been in hypnosis.
Yes, and then
It's really funny.
sometimes, you know, we get the opposite effect where I had a gentleman that I worked with recently, and he felt that he was in such a deep state, he described it as almost like an out-of-body experience.
Right.
And I didn't give him any suggestions for an out-of-body experience. That's how he experienced it. So it's a very, very wide range of potential experiences.
Of feelings, about it. Yeah, except to some people it's like, well, you didn't hypnotize me.
Right.
And to other people it can be deep and so forth. So yeah.
Now, one of the things on this show is that we like to make things real. What I mean by that is that there is a lot of hypnosis demonstrations are what I call setups. By setup, I mean that the person has usually worked with a hypnosis practitioner many times, been carefully selected, primed, and the whole idea of that, quite simply, is to make the hypnosis practitioner look good.
Right. And we don't want to make you look good.
No, even if that were possible.
Exactly, there you go.
So, so the idea is for us to show what truly happens,
Right.
and how it happens, without trying to set anything up. Now, we mentioned there are a group of people in the population who are called somnambulists.
Right.
And somnambulist is not a somnambulist in common parlance is somebody who's in a state of sleepwalking.
Right.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about people. It's a hypnotic jargon, a hypnotic technical term, which basically refers to people who are able to enter deep hypnotic states quickly and easily.
Right. And the deep state is in the parlance is somnambulism. That's the state you're at. So if you go quickly to that state, you're a somnambulist.
Right.
Okay.
And so stage show hypnotists are specifically looking for people like that because they've only got a limited time to work with them. They're working as a group.
Right.
And they want people that will enter deeply and quickly so that they can have a good show.
They can't spend half an hour getting
Right.
somebody in.
Now,
It's gotta be quick.
statistically, I know I've never worked with you before.
No.
You've got about a 20% chance of being one of those people,
Okay.
right? So 1 in 5.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And neither have I.
And we don't until
Okay.
We
we
don't.
see it, you know.
And actually, that's also a good thing because what that means, folks, is that for most hypnosis practitioners, unlike a stage hypnotist is working almost exclusively with people who are somnambulists. In fact, if they're not responding very well, and if you've ever watched a stage show, they'll quietly whisper to them to leave the stage and go back. So
Right.
they're literally weeding out the best. So the most challenging thing for a stage hypnotist is a small audience. Because
Right.
statistically, if you've got an audience of 20 people, well, it's possible that nobody in there is going to be a somnambulist, or there might be 5, or there might be none, or there might be 7.
Right.
But if you've got 200 people, you're almost guaranteed that there are going to be at least 10 people who are not only somnambulists, but are willing to participate in the show.
Right.
Because you might be a somnambulist and you just don't want to participate.
Right. Might be an introvert somnambulist.
Right. That's right.
And you don't want to do it. So,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why stage hypnotists like to have bigger audiences generally.
Right. Okay.
Now, for us working in the therapeutic field, we have to work with everybody.
Yeah.
And that means that the statistics for us are exactly reversed. 80% of the people that we're seeing are not going to be somnambulists.
Right.
And what that means for us is that we have to use a variety of methods of bringing people into hypnosis, and we call these inductions.
Right.
And as we bring you into hypnosis, I'm going to use a particular induction, one which you've heard me mention before on the show, called the Dave Ellman induction.
Yeah.
Dave
really
Ellman is a famous hypnotist, and it has many elements to it. And then afterwards, I'm going to demonstrate, depending upon what we find, probably demonstrate perhaps instant inductions, and we'll do those. So did you have any questions about that at all?
No, I'm just curious.
You
See
know,
what will happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's good.
curiosity is a very good. It's one of the best states of mind for hypnosis. And in fact, we say in hypnosis that there are, and we say this to our clients, there are 4 attitudes of mind that you can have in a hypnotic state, and only 4, and 3 of them are unhelpful. So let me just describe what they are. If I give you a suggestion, you can just reject the suggestion outright. You just won't do it. And I'm deliberately, at a certain point, going to give you a suggestion which I'm about 99% certain you won't follow. Because I want to demonstrate to the audience that you are in complete control, and you can just decide you're not going to do it. And you can tell me that you're not going to do it.
Right.
You might even find it comic.
Okay.
We'll see. So you can just say, I give you a suggestion, you say, no, I'm not going to do that. Right? Either to yourself or literally out loud.
Right, exactly.
And then the next thing is that I can give you a suggestion that you're neutral about. You don't care about it one way or the other. And again, that suggestion is going to be rejected. So if you're neutral about everything, then every suggestion is going to be rejected.
Right.
Now that leaves just 2 attitudes of mind, and here's the biggest one that potentially can cause failure. It's an attitude that says, I really like the sound of that. I sure hope that works for me. So if I say to you, if I give you a suggestion for relaxation, and you say, boy, that would be so good. I really hope I'll be relaxed. Then the hope kills it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that leaves just one attitude of mind, and it's very much the one you just described, which is an open-minded attitude that says, I like the sound of that. I know it's going to work for me.
Right.
That's the attitude of mind. And that's what helps the hypnotic process.
Right. And in this case, he is going to give you one that you're going to want to reject and this and that.
At one point.
At one point. But with, with the client, the first thing we do is we bring them in and talk to them about their goals. What do they want to achieve during the session? So all the suggestions are designed around what they're actually looking for. And then we ask them to come in with the attitude, okay, you know what? I like that. It sounds good. It's going to work for me. That kind of a thing. Because it sounds funny. Because you can't make somebody do something in hypnosis, they have to really want it. And if they really want it, it'll work.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And it's and so for an example, just let's say for example, you came to me because you wanted to stop smoking, and you don't smoke anyway. But let's pretend that you did.
Right.
And then in the hypnotic session, I give you suggestions for something entirely different, like something to do with weight loss, right? And you're thinking, well, I didn't come here for that. And so you're going to reject those suggestions. So it's very careful when you meet with a hypnosis practitioner, you both want to make sure you're on the same page and that you're not introducing anything that's extraneous to the goals of the person that you're working with.
And even you find, I love the example, we had one client where she came in to quit smoking, but deep down she really didn't have the drive to quit smoking. And Neil got her into a deep hypnotic state, and he asked her subconscious mind, which is just truthful, it just tells you, are you now ready and willing to become a permanent...
To accept suggestions that will permanently eliminate your need to be a smoker.
And she said, no.
No.
And he said, oh, okay, now I'm going to merge you. And he had to end the session, because if the subconscious says, no, I'm not going to do that, then it's not going to do it.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the quick, and when you get the answer so darn quick like you did, it's so clear.
Right.
Yeah.
So that means that the only types of suggestions that I'm going to give you today are going to be suggestions which are aimed at deepening the hypnotic state or bringing you into a state of deeper and deeper relaxation, which is your only goal for today. Right, so that's it. And the only other suggestions I'll give you would be to demonstrate phenomenon of hypnosis. And you don't have to do anything other than one thing, which is just simply follow directions without giving them any thought. So sometimes there's a part of the mind that goes, I wonder why he's doing that. Should he do this? Should I do that?
Right.
Just follow them. And the other thing is that when I ask you to report something, just report it. What's happening? Just
Right.
And the process that we always say to our clients is, in this process, you can't really fail. There's no failure in hypnosis.
Right.
If you report what's happening, it just tells us where you are, and then it tells us what we need to do.
Where we need to go, how do we need to take you there?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
assist you in getting there, I should say.
So it's not possible, but people have this, because of expectations, they believe that they're succeeding or failing.
Right.
Sometimes they don't really know where they are. We know where they are,
Right.
but they don't. So you can spend all of that, and sometimes what that leads people to do is to try too hard.
Yeah.
And this is a question that I would ask, do you meditate, or if you want to say on the air?
Yeah,
or,
yep,
and
I meditate.
Okay, and again, if you want to say you don't have to because you're on the air, do you pray or anything
Yes,
like that?
I pray.
Right.
Yep.
So one of the things I say to the clients is that although they have similarities, prayer and meditation are not the same as hypnosis.
Right.
And sometimes people, when they come, they're looking to see if the state is similar to something that they're familiar with. And so what I say is just it's a state that's different. It's a different thing. It's a different capacity of the
Right.
mind.
Right.
So you don't have to reach for anything.
Right. It's just, yeah, because when I told you about some people don't feel they've been in hypnosis, we've heard, gee, I wasn't in hypnosis because it was not like meditation I've done in the past. And another person will say, well, I wasn't in hypnosis because it was like meditation I've done in the past. And they're trying to compare it and everything. And you just let it be and know it's may feel similar to different things or it may not. And it's just a state
And
in
what
itself.
if someone's never, I didn't even think to connect those. Like I didn't
Doesn't-
think to connect those. Like I didn't even think about,
Yeah.
until you asked me, do I
Right.
meditate or pray? I was like, yeah,
No.
I didn't even think to connect them.
Right, and you probably wouldn't.
Okay.
And the reason I raise it is because one of the reasons in hypnosis is we want something called conscious assent. We want the conscious mind giving assent to the process.
Right.
And so if I bring you and you're actually, boy, I'm very relaxed. This feels very much like meditation. Let me try and do that.
Trying to meditate. Right.
Then-
I'll try to help.
I'll try to help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and then you'll kind of reach for something, and then if you're not getting what you think you should, you go, well, maybe this isn't right, maybe it's not working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we do is a lot of the time a good hypnosis practitioner is going to bypass potential difficulties by raising those difficulties in advance,
Right.
so that the conscious mind has an opportunity to say, oh yeah, he said that, he talked about that. So I generally want you to feel that in the hypnotic state there are no surprises.
Okay.
Now, very often when I work with people, and again, I've never worked with Diane before, so I have no idea
Right.
how she's going to respond. And to be honest, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because we have many tools that we can use, and so it doesn't really matter how she responds. I'm sure she's going to do fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be good.
And because I don't know, very often what I do before is I do a calibration exercise. And the calibration exercise is a series of hypnotic, some people call them tests, but they're not pass or fail tests. You can't fail them. It's for me to try and make an assessment as to where you are. Now, I was thinking about this before the show, and there are two things going on. Normally I would do these calibration tests, but in this instance, surprise, surprise, I think I'm not. And here's why I'm not. Because some of you folks are going to come and see us. And if I start to do these calibration tests on the air, then you're going to try and figure out, what you should or shouldn't be doing, and then it will queer the test.
Yeah, because a lot of people think they know, well, we're given simple directions. This should be happening or that should be happening, and they go to the I failed, or they may try to give you what they think you want.
There's one test that
Right.
we do, and I'm not going to demonstrate it, but there's one test that we do where we want the exact opposite to happen of what people think is going to happen.
Right.
And that's deliberate.
Right.
Because they think something's supposed to happen, and so that tells us whether there's something else going on.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
folks, you're not going to see those today.
Okay.
Now, I will say that Dave Ellman, one of our heroes and somebody we've mentioned many times on the show, who unfortunately died in 1962, but was a very great hypnotist. As far as I'm aware, Mr. Ellman never used any form of these tests and calibration exercises at all. And so it's not that they have to be used.
Right.
It's just that they can be sometimes
Right.
to help us.
Sometimes they help us, and yeah, exactly.
So
Okay.
did you have anything that you wanted? Did we miss anything? Bill keeps me on track.
Yeah, I keep on track. I keep the thing. You know, we've talked about the definition of hypnosis. We talked about the responsibilities for each. I don't know. Do we need to do the model at all? I don't think so.
No,
I think we're okay with that.
So in this phase, in previous shows we've spoken a great deal about hypnosis. We've spoken about how we use it. This is pure demonstration. Here we're going to be demonstrating hypnotic processes and effects. In many of our other shows, really, we talk about how we use hypnosis so as to be the tool that lets us do the work that we need to do, the healing work. But in this instance, we want to demonstrate hypnosis and bust the myths of hypnosis.
Exactly.
And why do we want to bust the myths? I want to be really clear. We want to bust the myths because we want to lessen, as far as we can, through this media, the fears that are out there, the misunderstandings, so that people can benefit from this process.
Right. Right.
Very much.
Yeah. The only other thing I saw, which I don't always do, is do you want to demonstrate what eye closure means or anything like that?
Yeah, well, let's do that on the air because there are...
And or losing the numbers.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
One of the tests for hypnosis is somnambulism, which is the state that we look to achieve for all our work, is amnesia by suggestion.
Right.
Purposely causing yourself to temporarily, and I add temporarily, to forget something. And for this we use numbers specifically. Normally, because for most people they're quite neutral on numbers.
Right.
But not always. For example, a number of years ago I worked with a mathematics teacher, and they can be quite attached to numbers sometimes.
Right, exactly.
And so, of course, if she thought that she was going to forget a number forever, then, she naturally, the conscious mind will say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not accepting that suggestion.
Right.
But when we talk about anything that we give you for amnesia, it's just temporarily forgotten at that moment. You don't forget it forever.
And it's because you've agreed to do it, and so you want to lose the number. Yeah, it's definitely still your choice.
So we use it, and we can use anything to demonstrate for that amnesia. And again, it's not to demonstrate how something cool something is. It's for us to establish that you're in a particular hypnotic state.
Right.
And it helps you get there too.
Right.
It helps you, with relax your mind. We have you relax mentally in the different way than other people talk about relaxation.
Right.
It's physical relaxation, mental relaxation, and it just helps you to get there too.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we ask people to do, and we're going to demonstrate the reasons for this and why, is the first stage is eye closure.
Right.
Now, up until probably Dave Ellman, a little bit before, the belief was that you had to tire the eyes, and that was the first stage into hypnosis. And this is where folks, the watching the swinging pendulum comes from, or staring into the eyes. And what would happen if you stare at anything long enough? Your eyes start to close.
Right.
Now, of course, what Dave Ellman realised was quite simply you could just have somebody close their eyes and relax them, which sounds obvious when you say it, but at first not. And so when we talk about eye closure, we talk about relaxing the eyelid muscles to the point where they just won't work. Now, very occasionally that confuses people, so again, let's clarify that on the air.
Right.
If we take an example of my hand, and I'll put it on the camera, if I contract it into a fist, I'll probably reach a point as much as I can reasonably contract it. If you pass an electric current through it, maybe I can contract it even more, but there's a part that I can control. And then there's a part, if I completely relax it, where it goes completely flaccid, and that's the part that I can relax it. And so similarly, if I just look, and I don't know if you can see, you might be able to see my eyes, if I close my eyes and screw them up like that, I'm contracting those muscles. And if I relax them entirely, you'll see my eyelids bounce up and down, but just like the flaccid hand can't make a fist, the flaccid eyelids are just too relaxed to work.
Right.
If I want them to open, I have to put a little bit of tension